Caesar Snack Sandwich. Today I have a quick video for you on uranium 308. Okay, this is pretty interesting. Basically, what they've done is they've taken the most simplistic concepts of cryptocurrencies and they're applying it to the uranium market. Now, uh, it's interesting because I find this is a good way for me to kind of go through and talk a little bit about like why like how we can get cryptocurrency to have some more mass adoption, and it is through projects like this, I believe, that'll help to educate people and help to spread the use of cryptocurrencies and so forth. Okay, so this is a project that basically sells a token called U that is backed by actual real uranium. Okay, so the uranium is actually stored by a company called Madison Metals, which is a Canadian publicly traded company, and they have been operating for quite some time, selling and selling metals, but uranium as well as them. So they're already compliant. They're already publicly traded, so they have the financial compliance as well as the actual compliance of like distributing, selling, trading actual uranium, okay, which is obviously highly regulated. Now, I did go through the white paper here, and I'll kind of jump through this a little bit and kind of talk a little bit about what's going on. So, in the introduction, they kind of talk a little bit about like, they show you on the history of uranium. They talk about some challenges, and these are good, right? So basically, since the Fukushima disaster, less countries, less places are producing it, so the price is obviously going up. All right, so there are some supply constraints because of like tensions and stuff like just civil unrest in Russia and the war in Ukraine and stuff like this, right? The contracts tend to be long term, so this is kind of, if you think about it, like this Madison Metals wants to sell some uranium to this city who has a power plant, or this company who's running a nuclear power plant. So they set up like a 15-year contract with the prices that are set, and then one of those players is likely going to get screwed by like supply and demand, right? So that's a problem. So it kind of can solve this problem. Since the rising demand, like there is more and more, like they're realizing that like nuclear energy is actually pretty good, according to this paper, of course. That I don't know, right? I'm not an expert, but they're saying that it's quite good and that the demand is going up. And then there's like again, there's less and less of this stuff, right? So then they talk here, they kind of show you on nuclear energy and why it's good and why it has like no like it doesn't have the environmental effects of other energies and stuff like that. Moving down, and then here they talk a little bit about like the problems with the actual market for uranium right now, and they like there's not a lot of places where you can buy uranium. The price gaps comes from like the contracts, the deals are very segregated. Like it's like one deal every year or something like this. Like there's big gaps between those buys and those sells, right? So that creates a problem with finding out what is the actual market price. Like, let's say I'm buying uranium. I have a power plant. I'm buying it every year, and I go every year, and it's like a hugely different price and I'm like, what the heck, right? So it's harder to follow the actual price and find out what's going on. And then limited access. It's for individual like people like me, like normies or investors. It's really hard to invest in uranium or nuclear power. You have to kind of well, in uranium specific, right? So it's hard to like you can buy stocks of like of that Madison Metals, right? But you can't really buy uranium like derivatives and stuff like that. And then this kind of like by having this uranium 308 token, it allows a lot more people to participate in the market. And then the more people participating in the market, the more information that is used to decide the fair market price of an asset, right? So, or a commodity in this case. So like lots and lots of people are buying and selling the uranium, they're doing so because of information they have, like, oh, some mine collapsed or something, and production's going to go down for next 6 months, so they're going to sell or buy or whatever that case may be, right? So more information inputting into the fair market will create a more fair price, right? So then they talk a little bit about the possibilities of using this token in DeFi. As always, you perhaps it doesn't. These are not actual live. These are like speculative ideas. This is more for people who don't know anything about DeFi to kind of understand that, like, what DeFi has to offer. And it's just talk about CDP collateral, maybe some yield farming derivatives made to kind of allow people to short and hedge positions, right? Maybe some insurance and maybe some stablecoin in the future backed by the uranium, right? Um, and then they go through and talk about the tokenomics of the project. So half of the tokens that are minted are given to Madison Metal, and Madison Metal holds like every token that is minted is 1 pound of uranium. So the all of the tokens that are minted are half of them were given to Madison Metals because Madison Metals is the actual holder of those uranium, that actual uranium. So the tokenization, they mint and they'll burn tokenized tokens based on the supply of uranium that Madison has set aside for this. It doesn't talk a lot about like whether or not Madison can borrow from that and then repay it or any kind of aspect like that. I don't know if there's any regulation where they can like take some of that uranium out with the promise to put it back or not. So this is something that I would like to know, but I don't know. It doesn't say anywhere in the white paper. And then they talk a little bit about like some other possible places like I don't want to go through all the tokenomics because I don't really like to explain tokenomics to people, but you can say that there was a public sale and it was kind of like a token a liquidity generation event. So they sold some U tokens and they used that U tokens to produce a liquidity pool. Um, moving on, moving down. So there's more about tokenomics, and then here they talk a lot about the process of redeeming your tokens for the underlying uranium, right? So you need 20,000, so you need to buy 20,000, and at the current price, it's like $73. So you can take that into effect, like to buy a significant amount of uranium, but the redemption process, it's also here as well, the same. It's pretty much verbatim. So you can go through here and you can kind of read what is the process. It's basically just, you tell these like regulation body, regulation body, regulation body, transport, you need to have regulation body, like all of these things, you need to, this regulation body, reporting and record keeping with this other regulation body, disposal with this other, you get the idea, right? So like there's, you need to obtain license and prove that you can achieve all of these things before you can even redeem. Now, I'll highlight this factor again that like Madison Metals already is doing these deals without the token. So they're already dealing with customers that already have licenses and already know how to to abide by regulations. And Madison Metals already knows how to make sure that you abide by regulations. So in order to redeem this token, you have to like basically contact Madison Metals and tell them, hey, listen, I want to redeem these tokens. I want my 20,000 pounds of uranium. And you got to explain to them why. You got to get a license. You got to go through all those hoops. So it's not like anybody's now can just buy and sell uranium and like use it to go across borders and redeem it. It's only redeemable through Madison Metals. It's not like a universal tokenized asset where you can redeem it anywhere. Now that might come in the future, but at this point, Madison Metals is the only place where you can redeem this token. Okay. Now, what I wanted to do, like that kind of covers like what's going on here and what's basically uh, happening here. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to kind of look at the ether scan of the token and kind of take this opportunity to kind of go through some of the things that you can see inside inside an ERC20 token. This uranium token is just simply a an ERC20 token with some like standards built into it. So if you come to the token, right, and you can kind of go through and see what these import statements, and these are kind of things that they've added to the token, but these are usually pretty standard stuff, right? They're like lots of tokens use these standards, they're proven and so forth like that. So you can also come down here and see which ones have been applied to the contract when it was deployed. And so I'm going to go through these kind of one by one and kind of take a time to kind of explain these little standards and give you a little bigger, deeper understanding. Okay, so number one, ERC, IERC, and ERC. These are just standard ERC20 token form functions like transfer or balance of and stuff like this, so people can this is easy stuff. Okay, so pausable. So this is an important one. So basically, what you want to do is you want to go to and search pausable and find out which functions are pausable. And if you go to transfer, you'll see when not paused. So they can pause this contract. They can pause this token and then nobody can transfer anywhere. Okay, so they can just basically shut the token down. So that's something you need to understand, right? So who can pause? We'll go to the read function and we would go to the owner, right? Owner, or pauser, and we take this here, and we'll end up it's an Gnosis safe. So click on it, and you'll open up a Etherscan. You'll see that it's a Gnosis safe. Now I've opened up the Gnosis safe, and I've kind of snooped around in here a little bit. They have a two of three, so two of the people who are on the multi-sig can sign it. I've gone through these addresses and kind of looked at them, and they're pretty much dead, empty addresses, except this one has has executed, has to pay some gas, so it has some gas, and this is the one that they use last to execute the safe transactions. Okay, now there's no ENS or anything. I don't know who owns these or stuff like that. You can go through and kind of, if you go to the team and you go down through here, like this is what it says for the team. So uh, it's not, maybe you have to it says contact them. So I don't know who the team is and stuff like that. But anyways, you get it. Moving on. So that would be so moving back, let's go back to the code. And so I was talking about paused, right? So pausable, blacklistable. So blacklistable, I also double checked it. So blacklisting is basically they can blacklist specific addresses, right? So if that address gets this token and it shouldn't for some reason, they can blacklist it, and then they can recover those tokens. They can basically burn those tokens in those blacklistable addresses. Okay. Okay, reentry guard is just standard, like so. So we don't have any reentrancy. Rescuable. Rescuable is a very simple function that allows, like, if tokens are sent to this address, right? So if someone sends U tokens to this address, it'll show up right here, right? And if they do that, then the owner of the contract, which is that multi-sig, can kind of send those tokens somewhere. So the function is where is it? Rescuable right here. So basically they will input the two and how many, right? So you would message them, oh, I messed up, I sent the tokens to your like address, please, and then they would look, oh yeah, we see it was sent from here to us, so we will send it that many back to you there, right? It's that kind of thing, right? That's pretty much it. Okay, so it's a pretty standard ERC20 token, and there is a little bit of like I'm not going to call that red flags, but there is things that you need to take into account, especially this like blacklistable and possible, especially the possible. Like the possible is kind of shuts down the entire token and stops it from doing almost anything. So if you look at here, pause. Paused, right? So that transfer from is closed. So we got transfer from, issue. So this is like minting, minting new ones. Redeem, so sending back. So pretty much pauses everything, right? And if we go down in here, you can see that they have a all the minters, so they're able to add new addresses that can mint this token. And then they also have the master minter, which is that safe, which can mint these tokens based on what they said. So there's no smart contract, that there's no oracle, there's no nothing looking at the actual assets, that the actual uranium that this company is holding and then minting automatically. It's kind of a manual system there. Okay. So, anyways, I'm not saying that's a terrible thing, because it's not this company, Madison Metals is probably heavily regulated and closely operated. However, there is a little bit of trust in there in this sense. Okay, so that's pretty much it for today. I hope this has been interesting and useful. I do like this idea, and like I said, like I think this kind of integration with real world companies is very important for crypto, and I do think we'll have to give up a little bit of like our immutability, trustless narrative in order for this kind of expansion into the real world. Um, but at the same time, Madison Metals is not some clown show, right? It's a big, huge company that's been around for quite some time. You can go and do your due diligence and read about like the history of Madison Metals and find out whether or not you think that this sort of company is something you want to take part in with this token. Okay, so as you can see, they're quoting the price in US dollars at 66, and the uranium is this U token is currently selling at a profit of $73. So take that into account. I wouldn't suggest you to go and buy this. It's selling at a premium based on this price here. So think about that before you go and do any kind of purchasing and stuff like that. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I hope this has been useful and interesting, and goodbye.